All right, guys, I'm going live. What is going on, YouTube, Mr. Tucci? What?
Sorry,
We were
man. How's
dancing,
everybody
bro.
doing? Is Mandy out there?
Yes, we have all of our lovely moderators in here.
Is the great Brian Blevins there?
Brian Blevins is in.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys. We're late because it's all my fault we're late. But, without further ado... What? Tell him why. I will tell him. But without further ado, why don't we bring in our first guest, our only guest, for our 49th show, Mr. Nile Scala. Would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, tonight we have the lovely Mr. TenNapel.
Oh, you only need one guest if you do it right.
That's true, bro.
Oh.
So I'm gonna.
Hey, it's good beer.
Hang on,
Thanks.
live. Here you go.
Live
Look
from
at
the
Billy
internet.
over there typing.
Pencil in his mouth, typing away.
I know. Well, guys, thank you for waiting. And thank you guys for joining us. I know this is prime YouTube time when everybody has their shows going, blah, blah, blah. So happy to have one of my friends, Doug. I've known you for 25 years. And I'm so excited, so happy for your success. Especially not only with Bigfoot Bill. If you could give everybody a little insight, like how much did Bigfoot Bill do?
Bigfoot Bill did it was like technically 196. We got almost right up to 200 grand.
So almost $200,000 for Bigfoot Bill. Then you went back to the I guess your calling card, if you will.
Yeah.
The thing that when I first met you through is the Earthworm Jim, the legendary, started off as a video game, your creation. And could you let us know, because currently you have Earthworm Jim live on IndieGoGo right now.
Yeah, and we're going to be closing this campaign down next month. We're closing the store down because I got to start cutting them off and making orders. We're up to 770,000. I'd love to squeeze in a few more backers. If you haven't gotten in, get in, because I'm going to make you a treasure. I promise you that. What you put in, you're going to get more out.
And it's looking great.
It's amazing. As Doug is one of the people that Brian Polito, you've got EVS, you got a couple of people that throw so much money back into the project. I mean, you're not going to Tahiti or anything like that on a vacation, or did you buy that new Viper? No, you throw all that. The quality of the book just gets bigger and heavier and more accoutrements with it. You publish it locally in Tennessee, right?
That's right. Printed in the USA. And see, Billy, the reason why I can pass my savings on to you is because I have a low ceiling. I have a very humble, low, cheap life here in Tennessee. I don't gotta pay the bills out here. There's very few bills. So I can just put it all back in the book, and I really love being kind of almost like obscene with how rich the book is going to be. It's going to have gold gilded edges and 2 colors of gold leafing, both on the cover and inside the end sheets. It's a 9-inch by 12-inch giant volume, 160 pages. The story of Earthworm Jim that I've never been able to tell before up until now. So I've been sitting on this story for 25 years, and it is epic. It's absolutely epic.
Can you give us a little insight first on yourself and your career for those that may not know you, and then go right into what the new Earthworm Jim book is all about?
Sure. My career spans basically 3 main genres. That's comic books, video games, and television shows is my main stuff that I do. So the video games, I did Jurassic Park Genesis, Earthworm Jim. That let me start my own company with Steven Spielberg called The Neverhood, and we did an all clay and puppet animation game. Comic books, I've done like 19 graphic. I think Earthworm Jim is either the 19th or my 20th graphic novel. So that's what I've been doing really for 20 years is I really found video games getting too big and too expensive. And so comic books I could always do pretty much by myself and have a lot more fun with it. And I don't get along well with others. So, I need to pick stuff that doesn't have big teams involved. And I also worked in television. I had a TV show called, Earthworm Jim, Project Geeker on CBS. Cat Scratch on Nickelodeon. And then recently I did the VeggieTales between 2014 and 2017, where for the first time in 25 years, I got VeggieTales nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award, my first Daytime Emmy. I'm an Eisner Award winner. I got my Eisner in 2000 on The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. So I've done, Earthworm Jim got Game of the Year. So I've got the top, some of the top recognition from them, but that's not really what I care about. We're here to put on a show. And it's all about the audience. And to the audience out there, if you haven't subbed or you haven't passed the link to this show, tell your friends about Crowdfunding Comics, that this is where the heat is, this is where the money is, this is where Nile and Billy put on a show for you for free all the time. These big mouth guys, they have a passion for comics and a passion for putting on a show. That's why we're kindred spirits. We just like putting on a show.
Yeah, and we thank you, Doug.
Entertain us.
Yeah, and I know how busy you are, and I know that, you were one of our first guests ever, and thank you for that. And then we're like, we got to have you on again, and thank you for finding time. Even though
I appreciate it. Will you come on my show too next week? You'll come on the Doug show?
That would be fantastic. I would love that.
Yeah, let's get you on next week. I'll be out in Austin through Tuesday. I'm going on a little vacay towards the end of the Earthworm Jim production. I've only got 20 pages left to ink.
Oh, that's fantastic. Out of how many?
Out of 160.
160.
Beautiful.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the story? And who is Earthworm Jim, if you don't mind? Sure.
This is made for both the hardcore fan and the people who've never heard of Earthworm Jim. It's an introduction to the character, how he came to be. There's a big intergalactic war between these insects, and they have this mad scientist, Professor Monkey, for a head. He's an actual man with a monkey for a head. It's like it's inverted upside down, and they share eyes. It's very bizarre, but he invented this super suit that's made to really give the queen the ability to dominate the universe. It's like a giant battery that whatever you plug it into, and there's only this one unit of measurement, this one form of power that exists in this suit. It ends up falling to Earth, and a space fairy kind of blesses the suit first, so that whatever, she's lonely and she wants love, and she wants the suit to bring her back someone to love. And Earthworm Jim has no idea that he's embroiled in this other giant space fairy tale that we'll get into in future books. But the suit falls to Earth. It lands on a normal earthworm, and Earthworm Jim is born. He mutates inside, and his tail grabs the controls inside, and it's basically an indestructible suit. The power of a god in the hands of an idiot who's only 24 hours old.
Now, how long does an earthworm live for?
Man, see, now you're asking science stuff.
Yeah, this is like science.
Well, I have no idea. I have heard the stat, though, that if you removed earthworms from the world, because their ability to process soil and process rot, that the world would die of rot within 3 months. So they're processing the soil to make it useful. They break it up, they naturally aerate it, they eat the rot out of it and process it and put it back into create fertilizer.
Wow. Oh, fun fact, earthworms generally live to about 1.5 to 2.6 years.
Wow.
That's kind of a
Who'd
long
have guessed?
time.
So maybe Earthworm Jim, maybe that'll be a good arc is at the end of the book. He turns a year and a half, and he's dead.
Well, maybe you want to kill him.
It's a happy ending. Happy ending, see?
By the way, it's your birthday. Really? How old are you? 1.5. Boom.
Oh, damn.
Hey, and I'd love if we can, our moderators are killing it out there. We got Brian Blevins and our top moderator, Mandy Summers. What?
Can't do it without the moderators. They keep the psychos in check. Thank you, moderators.
and we have a little message for Mandy, don't we?
We do have a message for Mandy.
How do we say? 1, 2, 3.
Like what?
What? Sorry, horrible.
Horrible. Anyway. We tried. We
apologize, Mandy. But okay, Doug. So you go out, you create Earthworm Jim, right? Because it's a huge video game, huge success. And then it ends. Now, because you did Bigfoot Bill first. I remember our last conversation that you wanted to get back into comics, the whole deal. I mean, you've got an amazing track record of comics, amazing bibliography. But what was it that wanted you to bring Earthworm Jim back? What specifically you said this is the time to bring him back in graphic novel form? Because it's obviously proved tenfold. I mean, my God.
Bigger than I ever thought it would be. I think I was all ready to do Bigfoot Bill 2. So that script is done. Bigfoot Bill 2 script is ready to go. In fact, I'll be penciling the first 24 pages over the next week. So I'm going to do a 24-page preview of Bigfoot Bill 2. Is going to go to every backer in Earthworm Jim. That's cross-pollinating the audience that you have to try and get them interested in Bigfoot Bill.
Right.
I'm going to, so I was all ready to start that. And then suddenly I've been trying to get the Earthworm Jim book rights for a couple of years. And suddenly it's just by a weird coincidence that they happened to come up, and the rights owner, which is Interplay, was ready to play some ball, and we did some quick finagling, and right at the very last minute, I got him back.
Wow.
And I'd already had a Earthworm Jim movie script that I wrote probably 10 years ago that gave me a head start on the script, but I basically went back and did a page 1 rewrite. And I was able, but I know the characters in the world so well. I've drawn, you see me at Comic-Con. I'm just drawing Earthworm Jim 150 times a day for $20 a pop. Mm-hmm. And so I know these characters forward and backwards. And so I was able to write that first draft of the script within about a week and a half. I was pretty much done, and then did a little polish on it, and it was ready. I started banging out pages.
So for the people, so is this an origin story? Is this something
Yeah.
so they don't have to know the video game, they don't have to play the
That's
game?
right. If they're fans of the video game, there's lots of references to the video game. Evil the Cat is in the story. Psycho's in the story. The Princess What's-Her-Name's in the story. Professor Monkey for a Head. The Queen. I have all kinds of video game references. The sayings that Jim says, whoa, Nelly, eat dirt, kind of all of his mannerisms of throwing the gun in the air and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to reference the game as much as I can. And also the animated series. I've been grabbing a few sayings from like the lyrics to the animated series and stuff and pumping them into the game, into the book. And so there's really something there for everyone, but it's really made so that even if no one's ever heard of Earthworm Jim, I want to get them on board on this book and set the hook, like Hook the Worm.
There you go.
I want to set the hook in them deep. And I think I've got them on this first book. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so we do have a fun question here. Brian Blevins, one of our moderators, also a very well-known gamer.
Sure.
He owned one of the top gaming stores. He's one of the tops. He's on Twitch. He's doing his thing. And he asked, Crowdfunding Comics, you should ask Doug how he sleeps at night, knowing how difficult the Earthworm Jim games were and how many children's dreams he crushed by them not being able to beat them.
Yeah, those are called rental busters, where we would put levels. You put levels in right around level 3 and probably level 9, where they're so hard that they're made to not be able to get through on a rental overnight.
Yeah.
So they have to go and buy it or rent it again is the goal. But so those are called rental busters. So there is down the tubes is when you go underwater in this little air capsule that usually broke most people. It is a tough game by today's standards. Back then, when you were paying $70 for a game, it was expected that you'd get at least 20 hours play out of it, usually 30. That you just couldn't breeze through on your first man the way that you can do now, like on Call of Duty and stuff, or there's endless lives or whatever. It really was made to have a longer lifespan, so they were a lot harder and therefore crueler by today's standards.
It sounds it. Oh my God.
But now the more important question: you're always posting what you're doing. You're busting it. You're killing it, working on this thing. So literally, how much sleep do you get?
That's a good question. I really do. When I'm in production mode, and so Earthworm Jim will be a 4-month production for 160 pages. And by the way, I'm doing a second book, which is the making of, is 96 pages.
Oh, that's an excellent idea.
And a 90 card trading card set. So there's 90 images and stickers. And I just got the art back today for the tattoo. These go out to every backer gets a tattoo. They get an animating lenticular, a 3-frame animation by Mike Dietz, who did the original. He was our lead animator on the original Earthworm Jim game, and a foil card of Princess What's-Her-Name. But that tattoo of Earthworm Jim's face is done by Yoshi Vu, who is an effects animator on Mandalorian and on episode 9 of Star Wars. It is a killer 3D rendering of Earthworm Jim that you can put that tattoo on your arm. Good for adults and kids. It's going to be a blast. So my sleep schedule, I'm pretty rigid about my sleep, actually, because that's the key. First of all, I work out when I'm out of production. I work out every day at the gym, trying to get stronger and just kind of be put together better. And I really watch my diet, low carb and super healthy, drink lots of water and all that. As soon as I go into production, I'm held together with tobacco, alcohol, and just carbs. Like I'll just eat anything in sight because everything's a panic and everything's an emergency.
Right.
But I usually go to bed every night between 10:30 and 11, and I get up at about 5. And then I get right to work. I try and ink my first page before I do anything. I pour a cup of coffee and start inking it so I can trick one page out of me before the kids even get up for school. And then and I usually have a nap in the afternoon between 20 minutes and an hour. That's my schedule. And I work Monday through Saturday. And then when I'm really being bad, I'll work on the Sabbath. I try and set that aside for church and just to make one day different and a true recovery. I try not to work, but I'm always thinking about the book in my head, even in church, and that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because you can't put it down once it's going.
Right.
So it's really like just going on hell's path to finish the book, just before I crack up. And I'm at the tail end, so I'm always on the brink of cracking up. You know.
Oh man.
Yeah,
But you know, Billy, at the end of the graphic novel, you're done with that graphic novel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I remember, like, one time I actually cried when I was when I did Sergeant Rock the Lost Battalion, because it was such a wonderful experience with all the veterans and all that they played such an integral part in it, and they were so attached to it. I remember when I finished the last page, I turned the last page in, and Debbie came upstairs and she's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "It's done. It's over." And she's like, "Are you crying?" I said, "I think I am."
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. It's you put your whole life into this. This is not a hobby. This is my only job now.
Yeah.
And I'm all in, and there's no time for TV. There's no time for video games. There's a little bit of time for screwing around on Twitter, too much, which I'm done with that too. And a little bit of time to do some YouTube shows. But my YouTube shows are just, I'm working anyway. So I just point the camera down at the page and start inking. So at least I'm killing two birds with one stone.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming on to our show.
Oh, no, this is great. See, my work day's done. I already went to the girls' volleyball game tonight. And I already inked, I inked 2 pages. I'll try and pencil 2 before I go to bed tonight.
Yeah. Now you were touching. I mean, now, you talked a little bit about really focusing on your health while focusing on the work. I mean, how do you find body and mind doing that? Do you find you're able to sustain working much longer?
Yeah. So what happens is I'm working out when I'm not in production, and I try and work out for as long as I can in production. But at some point, I got to knock that hour out of my schedule and go and use it for pages. Mm-hmm. But that's what keeps me from getting sick while I'm working. So I rarely get sick because I'm in pretty good shape. Mm-hmm. So I feel great, even though I've just been neglecting myself for 4 months, because when I do work out, I'm running. I run all the time. I do a lot of weights, and I'm a lot more careful with my diet. So when I start a book, I'm in great shape and I feel great. And then by the end, I feel pretty crappy. Yeah. And then I'll kind of do a reset at the end of the book. Like I clean the office, I clean all my files, and then I just go back and recommit myself to that workout schedule, because suddenly I get like, I'm doing 14-hour days, 12 to 14-hour days most days. And then and that's including the nap. And then at the end, I get I get like 14 hours back suddenly, or dropped back in my lap at the end of the book. So it's easy then to go, well, I'll go work out for an hour. That's easy. So suddenly it's not like, how do I cram this in my schedule? It's like I try to have as much nothing to do as possible between books, where I can really dig back into my family life, be present, be a little more available to take the kids to and from school and stuff like that, to alleviate the beloved Miss TenNapel. So during production is pretty bad. And next year's schedule on Earthworm Jim 2 and Bigfoot Bill 2, I'm going to, instead of doing 2 pages a day, I'm going to go back to 1 page a day. And I just said, to hell with it. I don't care how long those schedules take. I made enough money this year to cover it. So I'm just going to take my time on the next books and have a little more fun with it than just, I've been pounding it this last year. In fact, when I'm done with this book in 2 weeks, I will have done 320 original comic pages in a year.
Wow.
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 Yeah.
Wow.
That's almost a page a day.
Yeah.
That's almost a page a day. And I just want to say thank you to Matt V for the super chat. He says, "I love this, Hobro. Huge respect for you, Doug."
Yeah, Matt V's my guy. He's one of my moderators, and we call each other, we're Hobros.
Well, thank you, Hobro. And, we were talking about the super chats. And, Nile, remember I had asked if we could do this page and stream, say, on our Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
And you said no. And because we can get that, but that costs money.
Correct.
Yeah, we got to get some money in super chats, guys. If you want them to be able to stream out to multiple platforms, to Facebook, it'll expand the audience. They gotta pay for that with like $100, $120 a month to up their subscription to go out to multiple channels. So if you guys can jump in with some, just vote yes with a super chat, and just vote no by doing nothing, and that's fine because they'll still be here doing a show.
Yeah, we'll still be here doing a show, but that's it. Yeah, and that's it. But that's what we want to start doing with the super chats now is that people can contribute to our page for those of you that aren't on super chat, don't know it. And
most important of all, hold on, I gotta say this. Most important of all is for you guys to send the link either directly to a friend. Check this show out. These guys are comic fanatics, or post the link on Twitter and on your Facebook. Allows them to instantly expand their audience to all of your friends, and that's free. That doesn't cost you any super chat, and it can often do way more damage than a super chat. You put that link out there and get some more people watching. Is really how all this works. This is part of the crowdfunding. Is we need the crowd. The crowd has a job to do. It's not just us working. The crowd has to come in and do work. And I only really ask my crowd outside of the donation to the book. They don't have to pay any more, but at least spread that link around, and that is worth money in the bank to us.
Well, thank you. That's what we'll do. Niall, you take that word down? Did you take those notes down, Niall?
Oh, you know it.
Let's start doing that because I think that'll be just that'll be tremendous for us and to help us out. And that's the whole point. Is that what's cool is that we are monetized now, and again, like you said, Doug, we do this for free, and I love it because it's really inspired me. And I think maybe partially, I don't know if I could speak for you, Niall, but a part of it for me was when I started learning about these Kickstarters and these IndieGoGos and the success these independent creators were having, it's really piqued my interest. Like, yeah, I want to do this now. I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn. I remember looking into something, and it was a course for like $500 or something like that, to learn how to do it. I'm like, yeah, hell with that. Why don't I see if I can put some favors into my friends, get some new creators on, and then share that knowledge with people so we can all do this, because I really think that this is, and we said last time, this really is, I feel, a new golden age of publishing, especially of self-publishing, especially with the state that the comics industry is in and how these retailers are suffering, Yeah,
it's never been better for an indie. It's hard when you're starting out and you're only barely able to raise like $2,000 and you're laying down a good book.
Oh yeah.
Don't give up. Don't give up, because you still have to develop your audience, and it's just like this show. We got to be in it for the long game. We got to put down quality and just believe that if you keep putting down quality, you will not continue to be punished with being neglected.
Right.
I just think sooner or later you keep putting it out there and just try to be. That's one thing that I've always been able to do, is be really prolific. Like, just pound out stories and pound out lots of different creations and lots of different works, so that you're taking more shots at that lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Just keep putting them out as often as you can, and then you've done your part. So at least when you die on your deathbed, you go, well, I did my part.
Yeah.
I did my best, and you didn't leave anything on the playing field.
Exactly. Never give up. Keep on fighting. Keep pushing.
Yep. It's a struggle. I've been doing this for forever.
And for you out there, as we've had this conversation too, we talk with Peter and stuff, is that and Jimmy, Jimmy Palmiotti said it. Brian Polito said it too, though Brian's got a really nice, Brian's really made Coffin Comics grow tremendously.
Yeah.
He's impressive.
Yeah, he really is, and he's just fantastic, and he's smart, and he puts out a great, beautiful book. He too puts that money back into the book. He's expanding the product, making upping the production qualities of it, making more of a premier formatted book, and but there's still that certain sense for a lot of us, though, is that when the art department is on, the marketing department isn't really working, because you have to focus on that. And
That's right.
and then when the shipping department's on, the marketing department is organized. But that's okay, because that's how it was when I first started with Crusade. You know, I'm sitting there in this 1-bedroom apartment that I had in Queens, and I was just doing every little thing, you know, and gluing word balloons onto the pages and school stuff. And it was just, it's not easy, right, by any stretch of the imagination, but the results are just wonderful. If you, if you go for it, and you've got to, you know, be in it to win it. You really do.
Yeah. It's such a great community, right? I mean, and I always go into this because I'm like just in love with the process. I'm in love with this whole crowdfunding process, and it's so cool because, I mean, where do you get to meet other creators, see what they're doing, create a show that we have awesome guests like Doug and everyone else. I mean, we have superstars like Doug, and we've got these up-and-comer superstars coming in. But
Doug
we're
20
all
years
peers,
ago. That's,
you know?
Doug 20 years ago, just a kid who's given an opportunity. I do love this where we get to talk online now. This is because we were, Billy and I were doing this back before there was video, you know, these calls. You were just disconnected from each other, and now you can just really get some encouragement or go, screw around with each other one night on camera. It's just, I've never felt less lonely as a comic artist. Like I've been, my fans, you know, the fans in the chat, you know them by name. Which is great that we know our fans by name. The hardcore ones come in every night, and it's way more social. It used to be really antisocial. You just went off in a cave, and you just did your thing alone, and you'd show up maybe once a year at Comic-Con.
Yeah, and that's what's great about the, you know, that's what was great about the conventions, was that, you know, we did live, you know, these cloistered lives, this cloistered existence, and a lot of times, and let's be honest, you don't really have the time to read a bunch of comic books, so you don't know what's going on a lot aside from what you would see. What's cool about, and then you'd inspire one another, you'd swap ideas for story. Well, what do you think of this story idea I'm working on? Now we can do that virtually, so you guys can do this out there via Skype. I guess Google Hangouts is gone, right? So you can't.
Google Hangouts is gone, but I think there's another. I know some of the other guys are using another streaming service. I forgot the name of it, but you got that.
I use DLive. I have a DLive channel, but are you saying? Because I tried doing a StreamYard today to Google Hangouts and it denied my video.
Really?
Yeah. Look at that, Billy getting late.
Sorry, Debbie went out and bought me late. She knows I'm going to be working late tonight, and I can eat that. Nice. I can eat this whole damn bag, which I won't.
Billy's wife got him laid.
Yeah.
Hey, big shout out to Drew, aka Mr. E, for the $5 super chat, letting us know that he tweeted out the link. Thank you, Drew. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, that's so cool. That is how you do it, man. That's how you.
You know what's cool?
Cross-pollinate.
Like Doug, you were saying, you get to know all the people in your chat. So even if you're inking, right? You're inking a page and you're doing your daily YouTube channel chats, right? You know, and you have your channel. But you're interacting with them, and you could throw ideas out, and then you get to become friends with these people, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, I recognize their names, and I recognize them when I deliver the book out to them too. Yeah. On IndieGoGo, I go, oh, there's that guy. He's in the chat. I remember him. him. So it's cool to see, which I never had when I was like publishing through Scholastic. I'd sell 50,000 books, and I didn't know anyone who bought them unless they sent me maybe one fan letter a year or something. Yeah. Now I hear just great feedback right through the instant messages on IndieGoGo, and it's the communication's way better. It's just and I think it's a better entertainment experience. Imagine growing up, Billy, and you being able to chat with Kirby, or one of your heroes or someone who you really loved. It's like that was not available to them back then.
No,
and it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not saying to call Jimmy Palmiotti up, but if Jimmy wants to. You can do it and have his show going and stuff like that, and just start talking to people and interacting. And they ask great questions too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really do, which is nice because they're so knowledgeable. And again, I just love it. And another cool thing, Doug, is the experience we had at our panel in San Diego. Yeah, and a couple of people came up to us and said, "Hey, I'm so and so," and like, "Oh my God," you know what I mean? Like, because you know them by their names, either, you know what I mean?
To put a face to it.
Or through the stream. And like, we love the Crowdfunding Comics show. And it was really cool when you get to know people and like, hey, I think Black Wolf came by. He's like, I'm Black Wolf Senpai. I'm like, oh, what's up?
Yeah.
We got to take a picture.
Yeah.
No one's ever ZX 121 and they end up coming up and being a hot chick. They're never.
Exactly.
They're always a sweaty guy. That's okay.
Yeah. It is cool, though, because even I get Terrific, I know guys, hey, Nile, and I'm like, hey. Because I don't know if it's someone I've met before. This and that's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. And oh, you're always in our chat. How are you?
In fact, I had a lot of that from the floor. Even I had people coming up to me when I was just walking around on the floor, and they would come up to me and they said, "Oh, and I go, wow, you're on my show I recognize you. You're on my show every day."
Yeah.
In that chat.
And you're kind of hard to miss. And how tall are you, Doug?
6'8". Yeah, I walk through Comic-Con and I don't feel any claustrophobia because I'm just above it. I get to see over everybody.
Yeah, you do.
I tell my family, if you get lost from me, you find me because I will never find you.
There you go. So let's talk about this process, right? Let's talk about crowdfunding. Let's talk about the social media aspect. Let's talk about the YouTube channels. How important is it to build up, these means for fans, backers, all these people to get to you?
It's important, but it is technically secondary. So the comic is always primary. That's the thing that I keep telling myself is number one, I'm not number one a YouTube personality. I'm number two. I put on a YouTube show. Number one, I'm a storyteller. And it's easy to get lost in that when you have to when so much of our access to the audience is crowdfunding, is the crowd. But just keep it in perspective because it doesn't matter if you attract a giant crowd if the artwork is shabby and the storytelling is shabby. Mm-hmm. So that has to be number one, is that when they do show up and trust you with that money because they haven't seen your book, right? They're trusting you with it. Yeah. There has to be a sense of when they get something back in the mail, they go, I feel 100% vindicated for trusting this guy. So that, to me, that's the number one thing, is there's an invisible moral contract going on with crowdfunding where they trust you. And so I don't want to deny that trust. So number one, I'm a book artist. Number two, I'm someone who opens his life up to people who pay for my work. I open up my life and I let them in to see my family. There's John.
Hey, John.
I let them in to see my family so that they see that, number one, I'm a normal human being. Mm-hmm. I let them in on the process of this is what it's like to write. This is what it's like to draw. And to me, those are like the DVD extra features where if you weren't a fan of film before you see a great DVD extra feature, by the end of the feature, you look at it and you go, I have a new respect for what I just saw. Yeah. Because I saw the work they put into all this. So I think it helps them increase and get more money's worth out of what they back. I let them in on the process of, but that's secondary. So number one is there's communication with them. So you're starting a way more casual relationship with them than just I create over here in this studio and you go away and you go buy my book in a store. It's way more like you guys know me. And frankly, some people get to know me and they go, I don't like what I find. And that's part of it too, is they're going to meet the real live me. Mm-hmm. And the fans that do like you are like fans for life, because now they not only love who you are, but they love your style, or they love the way that you do life, or they love the way you talk, or they love the way you give yourself away, or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's lots of reasons why they might like you. But so you're trying to gain, in a way, I think our backing audience in crowdfunding is more stable than the ones that buy us from the store. They have a lot more invested. Many of them have hundreds of hours watching us invested. They have a relationship. So it's just, to me, it's more the crowdfunding thing. The important part of it is it ups the quality of the entertainment experience. And like I said before, we put on a show, we're showmen. And so if you put on a better show that ups the entertainment experience, then they're getting a multiple of why they got in. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that becomes more value. By them paying for your book, they're stabilizing your life also. So you're not like a homeless guy, not sure where the next gig's going to come from. The people, your employer, are the people who you're hanging out with on all this, on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook and all that. Yeah. So, and I'm not that good at social media. I'm only, for how much I raise, the books, Earthworm Jim is certainly an anomaly just because it's a huge license from the 90s. But Bigfoot Bill raising 200 grand, it's like, that is my 20-year graphic novel reputation. A whole lot of help from Comicsgate and just the new crowdfunding fans. And now even IndieGoGo will help you. That's why I like IndieGoGo. I get way more help from them than I did from Kickstarter. So even IndieGoGo are fans of my work and are into my business and care about my business. And so they're a legit partner. Like, what I'm paying them 3 to 5% or whatever it is. And they earn every dime of it. Every time they push your campaign to the front of the page, or they have people behind the scenes working on your stuff and answering questions and stuff, they're part of the team.
Oh, yeah. So now let me ask you, how does one approach them? Not everyone's going to be you, Doug. That, obviously, not everyone's going to make 200. Make over $1 million. What are you at? You're at 775, almost 770 plus almost 2. So you're almost at $1 million, right, for 2 campaigns. There's not a lot of people that can do that.
That's right.
What kind of advice can you give someone who maybe, like me, or someone who's lucky or happy if they make 50,000 on their book,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do they contact, say, IndieGoGo? Is IndieGoGo receptive to those type of people?
Yeah, they are. They're receptive to almost anyone. Anyone, even a kid coming up, you can start contacting them when you're ready to do your campaign, and they'll assign you someone who works there. So I've been assigned, my guy is Joel, and Joel interacts with me. And that's from when I first launched Bigfoot Bill. Joel became my guy. There's a contact IndieGoGo and just say, I'd like to talk to someone in, I don't know if it's customer service or just, I have some tech questions, and they'll help you set up your campaign. That's another difference between IndieGoGo and Kickstarter. Kickstarter is just so much bigger, and all these companies are strapped for employees, but IndieGoGo are a little more hungrier to get back at you, in my opinion. I've done 3 Kickstarters before I did my IndieGoGo. My first Kickstarter, I raised 105 grand on a sketchbook collection.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh,
yeah, and that went leather bound. I had so I've always been doing this leather bound thing. It had gold leafing on the cover. It was gold gilded edges too, but that was like 105 grand on that one. Then the next one I did was, I think, 85 grand. And then I did 100 little 3x5-inch watercolors. I raised 32 grand or something like that. Wow. So I've been doing crowdfunding since 2011. Mm-hmm. And it's really where I was most scared of doing IndieGoGo on Bigfoot Bill. But I do believe this. Billy, if you can get 50 grand, you can get 60.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. Is the next one you go, I'm going to do Hell's Path to get 60, or you can expand your backer base. And so that was me on Bigfoot Bill. I got 3,300. I said, I just want 6,600 backers. I'm going to double it on Earthworm Jim. And now I'm up to 8,500. So it more than doubled it. That last day of the campaign, Earthworm Jim went completely viral. On the last day, I think it raised another 150. It went nuts. And I think, by the way, if I'd stayed up another 3 hours pushing the social media, I probably could have pulled down another 20 or 30 grand, and I'd be at 800 right now instead of 770.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. It's going to keep coasting. And the drop off after the campaign was insane. It's like it went chonk. And then now it's just been crawling up. So
yeah, but that's amazing. I mean, I'm looking at it like I try to, especially for the show and stuff, I like to go on and see all the other people that are doing crowdfunding and stuff. And even Richard C. Meyer had his thing today. I was watching his video today, and he was talking that there's an algorithm or something you could look at, and it shows you how much you've raised.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
right.
Like him, who's coming in that didn't have a lot of comic book experience. He's a critic, and he's a social commentator, all this stuff. But he's got in a year and a half. Now, this is what's cool, guys. There are certain people like him, like he wasn't like Brian Pulido, a name for 25 years, or you, Doug,
right?
Or Ethan or something. He's raised over 800, like I guess $30,000 in a year and a half. And so anybody, It's out there. You look at how much money Jimmy Palmiotti's made. And again, I know Jimmy's Jimmy, but each and every one of these people, someone like someone like Richard, who is not as well known as Ethan or as Jimmy or as Brian Pulido, but he's doing what you're doing, Doug. He's another guy that's out there, and you got to engage with the fans. You've got to do your video. Again,
that was the big thing that Richard taught Ethan, who taught me, is that there isn't a normal way to do this, and these guys invented a new way to do it, right? By the time Richard did Jawbreakers, who'd guess that a first-time author, would do that?
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean what all the audience sees is, oh, I got to do it like Richard. It's like, no, actually, there's a million ways to skin this cat. You got to go and find your way. It may be you may base it on Richard's or try that or whatever, but I always thought, do I have to go and become a comic book critic, get my subs up above 100,000, even though I'm languishing down at 12,000? Do I have to get my subs up to 100,000? And then so I go, okay, I guess the model is I have to do that. They showed me that it was possible not to do it their way, but to do it a different way. Yeah. That's what they did. Yeah. Because then here comes Icarus and the Sun.
Yeah.
Piccolo. Yeah. No one in our circles know who he is.
No.
And he's got 2 million Instagram followers by posting on Instagram for 4 years. He does a campaign. He sets an IndieGoGo record at 596,000. So then you look at him. And you might say, oh, I have to get 2 million Instagram. No, all he's showing you is that there's yet another way. Because everyone, when he first came out, everyone's going like, oh, you can't do it unless you get a YouTube sub. Because we all look at what other people do, and that lowers our ceiling. And I'm trying to convince you to raise your ceiling, to blow it off, to realize there might be another way out there where someone might just go, look, I'm going to try buying radio ads. I mean, we haven't tried things outside of the circles of the things that these people are doing. Yeah. And I only know this is not the only way to do it.
Yeah. You know what this is like? This is almost like silent film. Yeah. It's like you guys are all pioneers. And the next Charlie Chaplin, could be watching right now, with these books. And it is exciting because of all these different ways that all these different avenues people are going through to gain the audience, because that is important, right, Doug? I mean, first and foremost, you are a cartoonist, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Writer, you're an artist. That's your number one job. But then again, like you said, just as important, but that's not your primary job, though, is you got to be Doug, the talk show host, say. You're
that's
Doug.
Right. But I'm willing to do that. If that's so I'm only in comics to stay out of teaching. So I'm willing to put on a YouTube show if it keeps me out of teaching.
Right.
So that's kind of how I see it. Is every time I get a successful campaign, it buys me another year, in Earthworm Jim's case, another 2 years out of teaching, and it lets me take another crack at that wheel. And I'm not above teaching. If I have to pay bills, but I'm a couple years out from that yet. And so success begets the success, but I'm only saying you have to do something. You can't just sit there like a lump and wait for it to come to you. That's in nobody's model.
Yeah.
Or at least fall in love with comics enough to where if you fail at it for 5 or 10 years and you can't make a dime at it, you're still having fun. Because I figure so long as I can pay bills, even if I have to pay them, like I had to pay bills with VeggieTales because I couldn't make it as a comic artist after doing it for 20 years. I was doing it for 20 years by selling movie deals. So I would sell a movie deal and that would fund my comics. And the comics were naturally doing really well in Hollywood because I know how to write. So I was able to get that passive income. The IndieGoGo stuff was the first time I was making money off the book from crowdfunding, where that's what kept me out of teaching. So it feels a little more pure. I'm willing to do all of the YouTube I need to do, but even look at Brian Pulido's model. Brian Pulido's doing 4 campaigns a year. He does 1 campaign every 3 months.
Yep.
That's a pretty funky model, and he's got it down.
Yeah, and he does, and but then there's little things like Brian. I got the box, from my Coffin Comics, my latest, the rewards that were just sent out, and there's my box, and there's a reward, and right in magic marker, or Sharpie on the back says, "To my bro Billy, thank you." Like little customer service things like that. If you recognize a name, guys, and you're shipping it out, put that little, "Hey," you know what I mean? "Hey, Stan."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or something, because it means a lot. It just puts a smile on your face when you get something like that. With that, and even like with Brian, like when he sends me the books, I ask him to personalize them, and he always does. You know what I mean? He takes, instead of just signing a million books, he'll like, "Oh, wait a minute, here's one for Billy," and he'll say to Billy, "Thank you." 25 years of friendship, et cetera, et cetera. And that
that's
means
a level of customer service you can't pay for.
Exactly. It continues that personal process, right? They can go on social media, they can talk to you, they can ask a question. 99% of the time, the creators are responding. They bring it directly to the customer, and if you recognize that person, you're like, "You know what? Hey, Bob, thanks so much for purchasing." When they open that and they see that, you have just made their day, their week. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, it's a big difference. The intimacy is where it's at. That's what people expect now from entertainment. Is they're in their bedroom looking at a little, your little video, or on their phone or whatever, and listening to you at night, often while they're working another job or while they're doing other things, and you're in their head. And I just think they feel a lot closer, and I want to keep that closeness and honor it, with working like I've never worked before this year. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Now, Doug, you've obviously done a lot of things right. And this is a big question. This is our 49th episode. We're almost on our 50th episode. And something we've been talking to a lot of creators who have been super successful like yourself. But a very popular question we had, Nile, that we used to ask in the beginning, which we haven't asked, is what did you do wrong?
Sure.
What mistakes have you made, even with this massive campaign? Aside from staying up, 3 more hours.
Yeah.
So you stay for a full 24 hours or so. Thank you, Matthew. What mistakes have you made? What have you done? Like, I really feel bad about that, or I shouldn't have done that. Is something you could share, or
Sure. The big mistakes are overpricing things, underpricing things, schedule too short. Don't print enough books. Have your business model too reliant on someone else, like on someone else's channel. If the only way that you can make it is by getting on Ethan's channel.
Oh yes, yeah.
Then I just think that's a bad business model. You may need his help, and that's good to get. Anyone who's willing to help, take their help. But you don't want if you're playing for a long-term game, then your long-term game can't be, "I'm going to jack my backers and barely be able to afford this thing and just crawl through the door, getting this book done," because you won't be able to give them a robust entertainment experience. So maybe they'll only come in and back once. Mm-hmm. So it's like those are the kinds of mistakes that I'm still trying to adjust. On Bigfoot Bill, I charged way too little for shipping. I just kind of blew it off and thought, it'll, close enough in the mix. It ended up costing me way more money, cut way into my profit margin, so that I barely made money on that book. I think out of the $200,000 that I raised, I think I probably took home 40, maybe 30.
Yeah, and that's like a year's worth of work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is fine because I'm not desperate for money yet, but And that's the other thing is I've been in comics my whole life because I love the medium, animation. Mm-hmm. Think of all the freebie comics and freebie favors you do, and you'll do a trading card for someone or a free quick sketch and things like that. So it's like you give it away all the time.
Yeah.
So it really isn't about the money. The long-term game at some point needs to be about money, where you either sell a movie deal or have a breakthrough book where you actually start making profits. But I just think we have a saying on our YouTube channel: don't try to monetize the audience while you're building it. Try to give it away for as long as you can to show them your due diligence as long as you can. And then when you ask them for money and it comes in, you've got a huge audience to ask from. So try and build an audience first by giving it away. So if you start a YouTube channel, don't go too crazy on SuperChats. Go crazy on getting that channel big, and then worry about saying, "Hey guys, I'm thinking about doing a book."
Yeah.
Because our books, that's the problem is, for those of us, I came late to doing a YouTube show, and I had to do a lot of catch up. And I needed the audience to be huge today. And of course, the audience is never huge enough. Even guys that have 90,000 subs are going like, I got to get 95, I got to get 100, whatever. Wow. So and I just think lower your expectations, hope for the best, but expect the worst is another saying I have. I lower my expectations, then I'm always pleasantly surprised when great things happen. Because I just assume, like, even when I'm printing Bigfoot Bill 2 and Earthworm Jim 2 coming out next year, I go, what do I expect? I expect to get much less. I hope to get much more.
Yeah.
So you're planning for something for smaller. And so when you go in and do your first crowdfund, I always say, don't set the price at what you need to do the book. Set the price at the amount of money that you're not willing to walk away from. So if that, maybe you have to fund the book yourself with $1,000 by getting a job, and then you only have to ask your backers for $3,000. Because I know guys that are starting crowdfunding campaigns who are living out of their car. They have no reason to think they're going to deliver this book, and they're asking for $10,000 or whatever. I'm just going like, you're really playing with fire. Yeah. And if you bail, if you can't deliver on that campaign, it hurts all of us because it just ruins the trust. And you see this a lot with backer fatigue too. They go, look, I've backed this many books and I was not impressed with most of them. And that's the end of our game. They got to start, they got to, whatever comes in the mail, man, they got to go, I ripped them off, is what I want them to say when they get my book. And I heard that a lot, by the way, on Bigfoot Bill. I feel like I took advantage of you, is what they said. And I go, good. I like it that way.
Help me out.
Yeah. Well, they all come back in on Earthworm Jim. Yeah. And then when the people see what they get on Earthworm Jim, it delivers in December. I open Bigfoot Bill 2 in either January or February. So while it's fresh in their memory, I'm starting another campaign.
Nice. So your next campaign, we're finishing this one up. We're in the home stretch.
Yep.
We're hoping to grab you. You're hoping to get, to make $775,000. What a fun, great number. You get that book out. You start going into production for Bigfoot. For Earthworm Jim. What follows Earthworm Jim?
I'm already working on Bigfoot Bill 2 and Earthworm Jim 2.
All right. So, but which one are you going to launch, or is that?
Well, I'm going to launch Bigfoot Bill 2.
Oh, you will? Okay.
Yeah. So if I was in it for the money, I'd do Earthworm Jim 2 and say, screw Bigfoot Bill. I'm going to make more money in Earthworm Jim.
Right.
And I'll only lose heat on Earthworm Jim the longer it takes for me to launch that second campaign. Right.
Right.
But I'm committed to the Bigfoot Bill story as much as I am to Earthworm Jim. It's going to cost me, probably $100,000. It's just the way it goes. I'm trying to make smart, creative decisions, and then I figure the business is in God's hands and the backers. God and the backers.
There you go. Now, how do you explain that to Mrs. TenNapel? Does she come and say,
Oh no, Mrs. TenNapel is a rare bird. She, when we got married, I was a fine art major, and she always assumed we'd be living in a car. So there's very low, when things hit the skids, when we get really close to like a year out from having to, use up our savings, she'll come to me and say, okay, it's time. And that's when I go and pull the trigger on a teaching gig. I've got 3 outstanding offers. But so until that happens, as long as I keep I'm trying to keep that deadline 3 years out. So as long as I keep the deadline 3 years out, I figure 3 years is enough for me to pull off a miracle. And if I can't do it doing this many comics in 3 years, I don't deserve, at this point in my career, I'm not talking about newbies, I'm talking about in my career, I always feel like it's time to hang it up if you get 3 dry years in a row. 2 dry years, fine. 3 years, it's like, why are you doing this?
Right. Now, but if you continue to deliver a great product, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
Oh, I'm gonna kick ass till I go in the grave. My plan is to do a book or 2 a year, at least 160 pages, probably 2 books, 160 pages a year for the rest of my life, and then we'll see.
Very good.
Just till the wheels fall off. Till the wheels fall off.
There you go. We've got I've seen a lot of questions come through for movie deals, Earthworm Jim movies? I'm sure
Yeah.
you get that question a lot. And, there's a lot of our viewers are curious if there is anything in the works.
There is a lot of interest. So I've already gotten talks from interest from Netflix, from a number of producers asking about the status of the rights, and they're waiting on the book. So what they're going to do is I'm going to put a book in their hand that is the kind of book that no studio throws away, because it's going to be a beautiful hardbound book. That one's going to stay on their table for a long time.
Nice.
And it's going to really help sell the pitch. And then hopefully something will happen. But another way, a key to happiness is to, like I said, try not to put your career or your happiness in the hands of other people, so that if a movie deal happens, that's icing on the cake. But if it doesn't happen, it's no skin off my back. Like, it's not going to kill me or anything, because I've done 20 books. I've sold half of them into Hollywood. The half that I haven't sold, it doesn't kill me when they don't go, because I just always feel lucky on the 10 that I did get. And tomorrow morning, I'm fielding a call on one of my other image books from a company in the UK. So things are going good. You got to be in it for the long game.
Yep.
And this is a story that I wrote, over 10 years ago. So it's, you just got to get lucky. And if Earthworm Jim happens, it will also be lucky, but I'm hoping this book should put it over the line with someone.
You said something really interesting, and maybe it's one of the motivational reasons why you want the more money and why you've raised so much, and you do put it back into the company and back into the product, because like you said, you want that book you want to send that book to, say, a studio, say.
Yeah.
And you want that producer, the Louis B. Mayer type of guy, whatever. You want him, that maybe it's not right for him at the time, or they're not ready, but that book is so gorgeous, it's just a great, even conversation starter. They're
going to keep that book.
Yeah, it's a coffee book, right?
Or they take it home to their kids, and the kids go, "Daddy, I want to read Earthworm Jim again." The other thing is, I won't just send them Earthworm Jim hardbound, I send them Bigfoot Bill hardbound.
Yeah.
So maybe the Earthworm Jim rights get a little too complicated, and there's Bigfoot Bill, an epic, great story sitting right there on their desk. So it just long run. It may take 10 years, but it'll, at some point, someone's going to look at these and go, "This would make a great movie / TV series."
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't happen, I've done so much Hollywood work that I don't even have that as a bucket list item. I don't sit there and go, "Oh, I can't wait to get into production." It's like, production is a living hell. It makes comic books look legit.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Now, what about the video game field? Would you ever dabble in that again with Bigfoot Bill?
I hate video games even more than Hollywood. It's more money. Video games are way more money, but way more complicated to make an interactive game. Because now, instead of like shooting things on film or shooting things on tape and digital, which you understand, video games involve like programmers and programming inertia and hitboxes and things they're so abstract that it's a lot less fun. So I'm always willing to dabble in games, to go back into it, but it's probably the one that I'm the least interested in. So I am working on an Earthworm Jim game with Intellivision, who have the rights to make an Earthworm Jim game next year for their console. And I'm a consultant, so I get to come in and do all the fun work. Like, what about this boss, and what about this level? And really, they're doing most of the game. I'm just there kind of to say, yeah, that's great, that's great.
Good, that's not.
and my happiness is to sit right back here at this table. This is all I want to do.
Yeah.
Is sit at this table and draw a page.
There you go. And then Macho Dan, who's a good friend of us, good friend of the show. He's been a previous guest.
Yeah.
Macho Dan. Oh, yeah. Yes. Question for Doug. Comics. Yeah. Comics is the goal to keep you busy. You have been a teacher, but what is the absolute worst job you ever had? Bonus points for a story.
The worst job I ever had was working in the fat tanks of Foster Farms, where I went down in a hole in the earth to a septic tank full of 120-degree molten cow fat and I had to hand scoop it out because when it coagulates, it clogs the drain. That was the scariest, weirdest, darkest moment in my life where I think back on that on tough days of art, and I go, the toughest day of art is better than the best day in the fat tanks. It's a terrible. I've riffed on that story for like 45 minutes if I unpacked it, but it was a horror. I did a lot of manual labor growing up. A lot of I picked berries. I worked in fields. I harvested baby's breath for flower arrangements. Worked in watermelon. Moved watermelon from truck to truck. Worked at Foster Farms chicken ranches. I was a farm hand. All like just trash jobs. Busboy, when I was first married, I was doing a lot of busboy work in college. I illustrated Sunday school material is when I started doing art and illustration. But mostly the manual labor stuff is really what gave me my work ethic, because that is where you have to haul for minimum wage. And you're kind of in a real macho field of men where they want to see this scrawny 6'8" guy fail, and they want to come and bitch at you and say like you're lazy, or you're not that fast, or you're not that strong. So I always wanted to work harder than the next guy, be off my lunch break earlier, take my lunch break later to make up and do more work. So they would tell my dad growing up, when he was a manager at Foster Farms, he swung a hammer, and I was on the grunt crew, sweeping a mile-long parking lot of rice hulls. And they would go to him and say, your son is one of the hardest workers we ever had. Mm-hmm. And that was just, he would take me home, and it was one of the biggest compliments I ever got. And he was all teary-eyed, and he said, you don't understand how proud that makes me. I learned that from blue-collar grunt work, not from the art department. Mm-hmm.
Hey, I got a question. I don't know, I'm going to bring it up because I keep seeing it come up in chat, and it goes back to video games.
Sure.
People are saying, was there at one point there was going to be like a Bigfoot Bill game or demo?
Yeah. Oh, there is one. We're still working on it.
Okay.
It's been a year, and it's late, but it's not late for bad reasons. It's late because we had some A-list crash bugs. That means it shuts down if you install it on the wrong machine array, or there's certain other bugs that we're having a hard time with. And it's just a crew of like 2 people doing the whole game. So I don't want to release it half-assed. We really want to do it's a small game as it is. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a letdown when you play it, but I'm just saying it has to be really good.
What's the platform? Is it just like a computer game, a mobile game?
It's just PC, Mac. It's played on the Unity engine, but we're just having a tough time with bug fixing, and so it needs more time. And with apologies to the Bigfoot Bill backers, it is going to be very, very late, and I will not release it until it's right, but it will get released.
Very cool, very cool. We have quite a lively chat this evening.
Good people.
Good people coming in. Some interesting comments. Obviously, some.
Always. I'll answer any question if you guys super chat them $20. You can ask me as embarrassing of a question as you want, and I'll answer it.
So there were some, but our moderators went in and cleared them out.
Got them. Zap.
But hey, I guess if you want it answered, $20.
That's right.
The man will answer
if you got zapped, throw a 20 behind it, and I'm
going to throw it out there for our moderators. We have quite a lovely chat.
You're also allowed to insult me up one side, down the other for $20. That's another good. They'll have to read it on the air. The most embarrassing thing you can think of.
Yeah, it's pretty funny though. We've got some haters out there. We've got guys loving it. We have some people just having some fun with some comments and people playing on themselves. And guys, that's what happens. Everyone's got an opinion. Throw your opinion in, have some respect. Don't have respect. It is what it is. Yeah. But, we're all here to have a good time. We're all here to learn. We're all here to have fun.
I can dish it out. I can take it.
Yeah.
What I want to know, Doug, and I will throw $20 in, and I haven't been keeping up with the suit because they're running so fast. It says the super chats got deleted. Peter Gilmore. Hey, Peter, how are you? Why do we have 11 people dislike you, Doug?
They're probably war campaigns, but I have no idea. I do think that people do legitimately dislike me. The idea that me being who I am, and I just live an honest life. This is as as honest as I know how to be. That doesn't make me an honest person. It means that, you get what you see is what you get. This is who I am. And so there's going to be at least 11 people out there who don't like me, but they shouldn't thumbs down your show. That punishes your show. Those people who are giving you a thumbs down should give you a thumbs up for liking your show, but then say in the chat, Doug is a piece of crap. And then
then Doug, maybe they're not giving you the thumbs. Maybe Nile, they're giving us the thumbs down.
Yeah, they could be, and they're entitled to it, right?
It's probably all your moderators.
Yeah, you don't have to like our guests. You don't have to like us. Just have fun. We're here to just bring some info and have fun, man.
Too much to worry about. Stuff, but
I'm actually quite entertained.
We have a mouth on it, so sometimes that'll cross some people.
Oh yeah, trust me, I've been learning that myself.
I'll tell you what though, if the chat is entertaining, it is very entertaining.
They're funny as hell.
They're funny as hell. I love the comments, and a couple super chats got deleted, and just so you know, if a super chat gets deleted, we don't keep the money. All right, the money doesn't come to us.
Super chat and curse us out or something. Damn it!
Yeah,
they're talking about how many.
You can't do $1.99 super chat and then lay down a bunch of shade.
No, they're actually.
You got to at least pay decent money to throw down heavy shade. The more money, the more the shade.
Yeah.
Man, you have such an exciting life. My life is Nile, our lives are so boring compared to our guests. Damn.
I just sit at my table and draw, bro.
I'm just so excited about getting my Lay's potato chips, and eating them.
Oh, man,
I know. You're just waiting. The show's over. You're just going to sit there and freaking chomp on your chips.
Yeah, right into the microphone. Do an ASMR.
Let's just sit here for an hour
of Billy eating Lay's chips. Right into the...
Oh, Brian Blevin just said at Matt V, I am having to pick my battles, man. I am not a pro mod, and I'm getting on the job training. Poor Blevins.
I know, poor Blevins.
This is kind of funny. You guys are funny. This is great.
Yeah.
Well, we have 70 people watching, and I guess I can't do it. 59.
Hey, that's a great audience.
Yeah, we had a good audience. I mean,
I know it's tough.
There's a lot of penis questions that got, how people get their way in Hollywood. The casting couch, maybe.
Yeah.
And Mama's fat ass did pay. He was, he or she. I shouldn't say any gender, but your mama's fat ass, paid good money for a chat. And but hey, it's all in good fun, guys. At the end of the day,
I get a lot of heat in Hollywood for my beliefs too, but not so much that it cancels out some work, but there's some people that just flat out want the story bad enough that they'll hold their nose and work with you. So those are the people, and I've made a lot of friends. So that's the thing. 11 people can thumbs me down, so long as 100 people thumbs me up. So I figure. For every person who hates me, I try and find 10 friends. And so in Hollywood, I've got very great producers and agents and people who are my friends, even though they don't agree with the dang thing I believe. But I was able to seduce them into friendship, and so they've got my back. And that's what I love about Billy, too. Billy is a guy who for 25 years has my back. Nobody can put shade between us, and that's rare, and that's gold.
Yeah. And then we just got two great super chats. First, we got Drew A.K. Mystery with a $5 super chat. I would love to ask for some additional advice for a first-time self-publisher. Paid for book production out of my own pocket and worried he won't recoup.
That is that's a risk. Yeah. I would say expect that you're going to lose it. Remember, hope for the best, expect for the worst. Expect that you're going to lose all of it. And hope that you break even, and work. If you work really hard, if you do your best to break even, and you still lose all of that, then at least it's not your fault if you did your best. I mean, you did everything you could. And you don't got to worry shoulda, woulda, coulda. Mm-hmm. You need to work hard at that. And I'm only telling you from my point of view. I have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on my own work, like doing. Earthworm Jim is one of my favorite books I've ever done. That took 1.5 years to do. It sold so little with Image, and I never got a movie deal or anything. I had zero to show for it, And basically, my cost in LA at the time was about $60K a year. That's 120 grand that I lost on one book.
Wow.
So it's like here's my thing. I hate people that say like, don't put your own money into film. Make other people pay for your film. That shows me that you're a piece of crap. That you will not put $1 into your own project. Is like my whole life is put into my books. So I'm putting $1 year one, even if no one else shows up, I'm putting it all in and I'm going to put this book out. And I don't care if no one buys it. So if you don't have that level of commitment, and I think you do, if you're already putting your own money in, then you've already shown that you're in the game. I'm only saying keep living your life that way. Don't make it just $5 grand that you've put in. Put in 4 hours a day learning figure drawing and doing tutorials online, getting better at Photoshop, getting better at writing, reading writing books, reaching out to more artists and things at conventions and online to make new friends and allies. Keep investing. So it's not just the dollar amount. Throw your whole life in. Study truth, goodness, and beauty so you start making greater things than what your culture's making. When you start going in and it's practically like a religion, that's when you start getting to the level of greatness that guys like Kirby, Larry Marder, Jeff Smith-Bone, Mike Mignola, the legends, it's because they threw all in. And you'll start making a different book. You'll make a different book.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's that devotion. You need that devotion. And another thing is, and I learned this with the way the warrior number one. I had no money. I was 6 months behind in my rent. But and Fred Pierce at Valiant had told me this, and he said, Billy, your enthusiasm is contagious.
It's true.
And he's right. Enthusiasm is contagious. If you believe in your product, and it might not be for someone. It may not be. This is not my cup of tea, maybe. But you know what? My friend Johnny might like this. So you know what? And this guy seems like an A-OK guy. Why not? I'm going to throw a few bucks. Let me see if I can support them. Let me see if I can support this book. Another thing that one of our guests, Stephen Perros, did. If you remember Stephen from our panel with Stokely Wells, he did.
Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah, I had him on my show.
Yeah, smart guy, Steve, and thank you, Doug. You helped him. He got his goal, his second goal. Steve went on our Facebook page, and he went and he knows all these Hollywood people, and we had asked him what's with the Hollywood people, and I guess they're afraid of a domino effect.
Yeah.
If some producer type chap or some Hollywood insider actually goes in and supports someone's project, then you get this snowball effect. Everyone's going to want them to do it.
Yeah.
That's one reason why you may suspect. Another one, they may not want to do it. But to our friends who we grew up with, I grew up with Steve. Steve and I became friends the first day of school of 7th grade of junior high. And he went to our kids from the neighborhood. And the people who are now, moms and dads and, professionals or whatever. And it was amazing that your friends from home, how the people that know you the best came out and they supported him. And it's pretty great, it really, so there are those avenues that, yes, what if I, again, prepare for the worst, but that doesn't mean to work your damnedest for the best.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're not tapping into the people that are closest to you, that's another thing. It's like, I always call my parents and say, I've got another book up. And they say, how much do you want us to give? And I go, what do you want? And they'll come in deep just because, they support me.
Yeah.
And there's other relatives and friends where I just go, you're a big fan, of my work. I just want you to know I got a new book out. It's not going to be available in stores, So you have to be able to hit up, especially if you're an up and comer in crowdfunding and you're having a hard time raising that first $2 grand. That should be your friends and family should be able to fund that.
Yeah.
So get them in. They actually want your book more than anyone else because they know the name behind the story. And they should, some should want to fund it. And maybe they don't. I've just seen guys, Antonio Bryce is my hero who did Brand and failed twice at this thing. And now his comic's over 70 grand, So went through crowdfunding comics and not crowdfunding comics, but Comicsgate. So there's stories everyone's learning how to crack this thing different. It wouldn't surprise me if you didn't like get on a radio show or didn't get something that expands your circle is what crowdfunding's about. Yeah. My circle on Earthworm Jim is completely tapped. So if I lay that link down on my Facebook page one more time to my 5,000 followers, it is not going to bring in one more donor. Like I've completely tapped my circle. The only way I can do it is to come on a show like this and expand my circle, or go on, talk to someone else outside my circle somewhere. And I've done radio shows. I've done, there's an Atlanta station, The Answer, that has had me on twice now, once to talk about Godzilla. And just I'll show up almost anywhere, podcasts or whatever, and those often shake out 1, 2, 3 backers.
Yeah,
we've got a.
Plus, there's a just real quickly, and you have friends that you go to these radio shows. Go on to, and like I said, contact these other people with their YouTube channels, if you will, or these people with big Twitter accounts. I mean, we did with Zombie Sama, we did our little zombie book in 28 days on a Kickstarter. We did $32,000. Now, I know it's not it was our first campaign. My buddy John Broly was drawing. It was a property not a lot of people knew about. So we went on that, and we did well with it. I was really happy with that, really happy. Then we decided, let's do IndieGoGo, because we learned that there are a lot of people that some people would just buy through Kickstarter and some people would buy through IndieGoGo.
That's right.
So what I did is, Doug, and you helped me out too, but then I went on Ethan's show. And Ethan had me on his show with the IndieGoGo campaign, right, on his YouTube channel. And he raised with me, he had me on, and he raised with his backers, I think we did $15,000 in like 2 hours. Yeah. We hit our goal because my friend came and said, come on to my show. You know what I mean? And I know like some people may not like certain people, but you know what?
Everyone's in a fight, and that's part of it too.
And you know what? I'm 53 years old. I just turned 53 last week. Thank you all for the nice Facebook.
I turned 53 in July, brother.
Oh, all right. But I don't have time for that shit. I have sorry about cursing. I had my friends with my friends. My friends helped me out, and I went on his show, and he had me on for 2 hours out of his time, and not promoting his own stuff, but having me.
That's right.
And by him doing that and giving me that, like I said, we hit $15,000. And it was amazing. I was blown away. I mean, I felt like crying, to be honest with you. I couldn't believe it. And then I got a lot of different new followers. Then I met these people at the shows coming up to me. And it's so funny. A lot of young people, too, are getting into this crowdfunded comics thing.
Yeah.
And I love these young college kids or kids right out of college, and they want to be artists and they want to be cartoonists. And they came up to me, he's like, oh, yeah, I saw you on Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I mean, and Shane, he's like, yeah, and I pledged, I pledged, I got the $10 PDF, you know what I mean, the digital version. But I'm like, oh, give him a hug, thank you.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah.
The last day of Bigfoot Bill on Ethan's show, he stayed up all night. He did an all-nighter for the last 8 hours of my campaign. We raised $40,000 on Bigfoot Bill. That's basically what I took home.
Yep, and that's what's out there, is that there are people out there. So it doesn't hurt to ask. If you want, if you, like I said, don't depend on it, right? Like Doug said. Yeah. Don't depend, I got to get on, Comic Artist Pro Secrets. If I don't get on, and these people depend on him. And then that puts somebody in a really bad position.
Yeah, you can't. That's not a good business model. What is a good business model is find 5 other desperate people who need to just raise a couple $1,000s. Get on all of their shows so that all 5 of you do like a nightly screwing around with comics show. And you all support each other and you open up your campaign to each other's audience. If you all just have, say, 200 subs and you all are on each other's 200 sub show, you're expanding if they're people outside of your circle.
Right.
So that's the real key is I got on Rusty Cage, who was way outside of my circle. He had 1 million subs.
Wow.
Bigfoot Bill. I got on, I had Justin Wang on my show. I had Dick Masterson on my show. I had Maddox on my show. I had Nick Rekieta on my show. I went on Nick Rekieta's show. This is a lawyer who reads contracts on his show and has also raised $40,000 on Earthworm Jim, a lawyer who reads contracts. So I'm just saying, I've been on Razorfish show and he's been on my show twice. So you just, I've had Polito on my show. All this, you got to cross-pollinate. You got to give it away, and then you got to ask to get on their show. But don't try to get on a show that's like way bigger than yours where you're already in debt. Find someone maybe with the same amount of subs as you have. So if you only have 200 subs, find a guy with 200 subs and say, hey, let's hang out one night.
Yep. That's
exactly.
Right.
And we did.
You come on my show, I'll come on yours.
Yeah, and we got a $20 super chat from Nick Sonata. Thank you. He asked a question for both of us. So I guess Sean Gordon Murphy is going to be doing a crowdfunding, his next crowdfunding campaign, and he is going to be doing IndieGoGo. So you're just asking both of us if we plan on having him on our show.
Oh my gosh, awesome. I've never met him, but he's amazing.
He and I are good friends. We talk on the phone all the time. And I've begged him to come on my show, which I'll absolutely have him on my show. But he's a good friend. I'll put it that way. How good? Well,
we got a special.
Yeah, I got a special.
We got a special.
I think I've shown this one off before.
I mean, what a talent.
I sent him a picture of Earthworm Jim. He sent me this page from Batman.
Oh my God.
Yeah. White Knight. An original freebie. And I grope this thing, Bill. You know, other people are like precious with their pages.
Yeah.
I eat this thing.
Yeah.
This is a treasure. So I intend to help him any way I can. I don't think he needs my help because I'm very excited, but I was telling him to get into crowdfunding a year ago, and he was already saying, yeah, I'm ready. So he's been ready. He's one of just the best artists in the world.
He's amazing. He's inspiring, his art.
Yeah. I'm very excited about Sean Gordon Murphy. And you're going to start seeing the big names at DC and Marvel coming into this space. When Earthworm Jim pulls in $770,000 and they're going, I can do that. I mean, I work for DC. I work for Marvel. Why in the world would they keep drawing other people's characters when they need to start contributing to culture and creating their own, not copying Thor? I wasn't put on this earth to illustrate Thor. I was put on this earth to create my own 20 original graphic novels because that's what Kirby and Stan Lee did. They made up the books, and now all Disney does is copy characters from 60 years ago. And they're not contributing. They're not paying back into the bank. They're only making withdrawals. So that's why I'm excited about crowdfunding comics also, is that it's usually a brand new indie idea. This is where the next Hellboy comes from. This is where the next Bone, either here or Image, because Image and Dark Horse are the only ones still in the business of doing really original guys and floating new stuff up. And then crowdfunding comics is the third tier of that.
Yeah. And again, they are because, and that's why I got in to do my own book, doing She. Like, why would I want to, I tried, to be perfectly honest, I did try to get work from them.
Oh, no. If you can get work, go for it. But
the thing is, you could make so much, like you said, you could be like yourself, and you could make, if you make $100,000 on a campaign, all the profit goes to you. Yeah. You do a comic book from DC that say sells $100,000, that makes $100,000. You may make $4,000 out of that. You know what I mean? So if that. So
I'm investing in my family's, in your family's well-being.
Right.
When I build up my own intellectual property. Otherwise, I'm investing in making Disney, Marvel, Warner Brothers. I'm investing, putting all my life talents of learning how to write and draw into making Warner Brothers bigger. So I'm fine with it if they pay enough and if I'm hurting enough. But if I had my choice, and I could make, and obviously with Earthworm Jim, I've made more money in Earthworm Jim than any other comic, anything. Well, I did sell Tommy Source Rex for $1 million. I sold that one to Universal. That was a comic book for $1 million. So I'm just saying, I'd rather make my own stuff and sell it for $1 million than do like even a New York Times bestseller Spider-Man.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank God there are things like the Hero Initiative. And the Hero Initiative, for those that don't know, is out there that helps comic artists and comic writers and comic creators who have fallen on bad times. Because a lot of these guys have no pensions. They're all freelance artists. You have these great, amazing creators that have created so many wonderful characters that are in film and stuff now, and a lot of them die penniless.
Yeah.
It's a real sad thing. a way to avoid that is to make your own damn books. And you
That's right.
own everything. Create your own character. Create an Earthworm Jim. Create a Cyber Frog. Create a Lady
That's
Death.
right.
Create a Painkiller Jane. Create door kickers. Create jawbreakers. Create your own damn books.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, you own it all. And then you'll still always have something, because this may not be the time, right?
Yeah. And if it fails, it's on your back. You did it your way, and I'd rather fail doing it my way than doing a book for someone else and having it fail and having a bunch of editors to blame it on, and a company or a culture or a bunch of comic book stores. That's being a victim.
Right.
Crowdfunding comics is about taking your career by the balls and going for it, and I'd rather fail doing that 100 times. I'd rather do. I can do. I got a lot of. It's like Captain America. Every time he gets punched, he goes, "I can do this all day, guys. I can do this for most of my life. I can sit here and fail at comics. It's funner to fail, and I'd rather die penniless doing comics than be. We could all be millionaires if we ran our own plumbing company. It's like I wasn't put here on Earth to be a plumber and make $1 million. I was put here to tell stories, and that's why I'm going to do it every day. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to be Walt Disney. And Walt Disney told great stories, and lots of people liked him, put smiles on people's faces. Or look at Steve Hillenburg, who created SpongeBob. Think of all the people around the world that he's made laugh.
Yeah.
Like put a smile on their face. That's what an entertainment does. That's what an entertainer does when we put on a show. That's all I want to do. There's some money in there, only because of where we're at in culture. People have disposable income to watch to buy books and watch movies and stuff. But, if the money wasn't there, would you stop? Is it like, I'll never draw again?
No.
When you were in high school drawing by yourself, it wasn't for the money. You loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bonus. It's a bonus if you can make money from it,
That's right.
But you got to keep that balance, though, right? You got to keep that passion still, because you don't want that passion. It is your job, right? But you also want to remember why you're doing it, and not it's a job. Great.
It's a job, and so I'm not the pure artist. I'm not like David Lynch doing all kinds of weird, screwed up stories. People aren't paying me to sit here and bleed all over my comics, right? Because if it was just what's rolling around in my head, I don't think anyone would buy it. So there's always kind of me taking a few big daddy steps toward my audience, and then taking a few big daddy steps toward me, where we have kind of a partnership. That is what you have to think if you want to get into mass media. So this is a mass media art form. Mass media means more than one person has to like it. Yeah. If your stuff only appeals to you, you're still an artist. You're just not a mass media artist. So you can make a comic. You can put out a web comic that doesn't cost you anything to print. You can get an audience of 2 or 3 people, and it's your comic about psycho furries or whatever you want to do, whatever low comic. There is nothing wrong with that. There's only something wrong with it if your plan is to make mega money off the masses of thousands of people. Suddenly you have to start making things that masses of thousands of people want to read. Yeah. So that's the land where we live, is somewhere between total sellout and hardcore artist. And you'll see like big art things like Spider-Man, right? There's nothing bigger than Spider-Man and Batman. And then maybe off to the side is something a little more indie like Hellboy that has a little harder time penetrating into that mainstream. They're still big. He's still a big indie guy, or Bone, where you can't quite get a feature done. It's still big indie guy, big money, but it's not like mass, huge media where you're making a Star Wars or something. And that all the way down to the tiniest comics, where I've bought little tiny zines for $1.50 at Comic-Con, and they were the funniest thing I'd ever read in my life.
Yeah.
Those people were just making, $40 on their zine. And that is part of the comics tradition too, going all the way back to like Haight-Ashbury and all the hippie zines with Crom and stuff. It's like, they weren't in it to make millions. They were, so anywhere that you would decide to land, but I'm only saying, if you're doing like a bloodbath weirdo furry, I don't know, just kind of manage your expectations. Go, I'm trying to get a smaller weirdo audience than Ma and Pa, 4 quad. I'm going to get 60-year-olds reading this too. just be realistic about it. And then if you need to adjust your work to open up your audience, then adjust your work. And then you'll become more and more of a mass media thinker.
Yeah. And we've got another super chat from Drew, aka Mystery. He says, Thank you so much. You guys rock. I'm going to keep giving it my everything. I can't quit. I have to create its life. Thank you.
Good.
And definitely, man, keep going at it. That's it. It is life. You're born with it. That's what we do.
Unfortunately, it's a curse. It
is. And
even when I was
never
slinging,
stops.
Even when I was slinging shit on a farm, I would still go home and draw my own comics. So
Yeah.
even if I had to go and take a real job, teaching or whatever, I'd still be making my own books. And frankly, I'd be freed from the market to do the most screwed up, bizarre, Kafka-esque, dark comics that were no longer reliant on making money, because I'd have my job covered if I was working on whatever,
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a liberating aspect to not having to monetize all of your work.
Yeah. And then TJ James, thank you. We got another $5 super chat from him. Do you gents see a time when the publishers would consider a one-time license agreement for their properties to allow a low-risk creator idea?
I don't understand that. What is?
You mean like license out Spider-Man for a tiny book?
I believe so. I think
Is
that's
that what he
he's
means?
asking. Yeah.
I really doubt it, because the strength of a license and what they can charge for it is the value of their vault. So that's where all the money comes into their vault, is if they've got, 150, 200, 300 characters sitting in their vault. They don't raise the value of that vault by selling them out to smaller people that don't bring the value in. They do much, much bigger, even putting it on a Coke can, like putting Popeye on a spinach can, which is a low-end property, but it sells spinach. So I'm just saying.
Popeye's going to be in the public domain in the next few years, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then we can all.
There's a lot of golden age characters that are on the verge of being in the public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone can do Peter Pan. Peter Pan's public domain, so you could do a and that has huge name recognition.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wizard of Oz is also.
Oh, really? I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz is also.
Oz
You can't do the movie. You have to base it on the book. But I'm just saying, you can do a Wizard of Oz. You can do Peter Pan. You can do classic works of literature. And there's a lot of, built-in marketing recognition by doing a goth version of Peter Pan or whatever that might be huge.
Yeah.
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 The Brian Hawkins, we had him on our show and he's in the chat. I mean, he did a wonderful take
what's up,
on
Brian?
the whole Oz thing.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good. I saw a couple of pages from it that he's working on. Yeah.
We got to talk. I mean, this is our 49th show. Yeah. I guess Doug is will Doug be our 47th guest, because Brian, Polito, and Doug have been on twice, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we made the rotation.
Yeah. And thank you, Doug. I know we invited you a long time ago, and thank you for remembering to come back on. We appreciate you're a man of your word, and thank you for this. And it's kind of cool because you're in all this craziness right now, which is kind of fun for us.
Yeah, I'm the crowd on IndieGoGo for single campaign. I'm the crowdfunding king.
The crowdfunding king. So we had the crowdfunding king. We had Brian Polito I can't say it because Brian Polito, we called him the king of Kickstarter.
The king of Kickstarter, Brian Polito, we've had on twice. We've had Murat Michaels on twice.
Yeah, we've had Murat has been on twice, so you're our 46th guest.
We've had Samedi on twice.
That's 45th guest you are. We've had what would you call the emperor, the Caesar of crowdfunding then with Ethan. Has he been on?
He's the Caesar.
Yeah, he's
been
been
back on again.
He's been on once. He'll come back on again.
Oh, we got to get him back on again. He's a fun.
You guys got to do the dueling Vampirella.
What do you mean, like draw while we're live?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, we had an idea, Doug, for our show. We're going to start. We'll let you guys out there know. We were talking to Peter the other night and a couple of other guests and stuff, and I think with Scott, we talked to Scott about it from Door Kickers, and we want to start to expand the show. We're going to start having fun things, Doug. Now, say you come on as a guest, and you have a panel that either it's a panel of, say, Bigfoot Bill, right?
Yeah.
And you are going to describe the panel or email us, say, ahead of time. Say we have two other artists on, Nile, myself, and another guest artist.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then we'll have to draw that panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And within an hour and talk about it. And all we have is a script, and we have to each draw a panel. We see how 3 different artists, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. Dude, I've got the Bigfoot Bill 2 script right here. Look at this right here. I'll give you a page with panel breakdowns. You just hit that panel and good luck.
Yeah, and even if it's a page, and we do it in rough form, like John Buscema type. We're not going to do a full blown panel page, but I think that could be a fun thing if we each do the panel, and then maybe with the super chats we can auction that art off.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things, is to do that, is to have, and then to what else were we talking about, Nile? We're gonna have guests that aren't. We've got some guests that are very interested. Oh, there you go. Yeah, we have some guests that are interested in coming on that aren't big fans of crowdfunding. Correct. They're retailers.
Yeah, we've got retailers that aren't fans of the crowdfunding process. They think that they may hurt, their ways of making money.
I just want to ask, I'll go face to face with anyone. I just want to know, how many of my 18 books do they have stocked on their shelf right now?
Exactly, right.
If it's not more than half, you get the middle finger.
Right. Well, we had someone came up to me at a convention. He said, "Well, why didn't you do Zombie Sama, as through Diamond first?" And I was like, "Well, no." He said, "Why aren't you doing Diamond? Why are you doing it through Kickstarter?" And I started explaining the whole thing and IndieGoGo, why I'm doing Zombie Sama this way. And he says, "Well, why don't you just do it through Diamond first?" And he said, "Well, because I do my own book, and he has a really cool comic that he puts out." He goes, "And I know it's tough in the beginning, and we didn't make a profit till our 13th issue. But after that, then our profits really skyrocketed." And I'm like, I can't afford to do 13 issues of a comic without making a profit.
I'm cutting bait after 2.
Yeah. So, and then I said, and I did do Zombie Sama first 15 years ago in its very first form with John Broglia, and we did publish that book. And I think we sold 800 copies or something.
Yeah. Stores are in a tough spot, and they do have to adjust. They're making huge adjustments now. They have to do role playing or some other thing to make their store an event place to go to, because the shopping model is veering away from that. Mm-hmm. I only know that if I had to make my living off of what stores sold of my books for 20 years, I'd have quit a long time ago. There's no way I could have come even close. That's the least amount of money I make is from stores.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I make more from normal bookstores than from comic book shops, because comic book shops, I go in there and they're all blowing DC and Marvel. They're not blowing indies. They're not going into little tiny image books and little tiny indies. They're not supporting Scholastic books. So I'm just saying, now they're going to come back and say, "Where's Bigfoot Bill and where's Earthworm Jim?" I'm going, and by the way, I do have a handful of stores that really do religiously carry my work, and I would consider sending them a box of my books just to sell. I'd give them to them. I'm just saying, those people, Paul at House of Secrets in Burbank, I love that guy. I'd do anything for that guy. He's carried my books all along. But most, I can't tell you how many comic book shops I take me and my kids into, and I go, "Let's go see if any of my titles are here. Do you have any Doug TenNapel books? Who's Doug TenNapel?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See ya.
Yeah. And
not looking back from crowdfunding.
Yeah, exactly. And they're in a tough position too, though. They are, because of it's sort of unfair business practices through the big two, know. And they by the time they get to us, they don't necessarily have the budget. They don't have
the money. They can't push it. Go buy 5 more alt covers, guys. That's what I say, because I only have 1 book and 1 cover, and they never supported my work. And it's not a charity. I don't expect them to, put my books on valuable shelf space. But usually if they sell my books, because my books are one of the few family books out there. All my books, except for 1, are largely for the whole family. They're huge. They sell through to Hollywood because they're rip-roaring great stories, and they're just not, stores just aren't into them. So I just feel like they're in a separate business to me. It's none of my business.
Yeah, and also we've got going on, so we're kind of me and Billy have been talking, we're trying to take that whole process, the whole evolution. How can we get more information? How can we get different guests on here? So we've got, the guys that are running the conventions, the guys that run those artist alleys. What's the next step? You're crowdfunding. Do you stay in this basket? or do you go out there? Do you start going to conventions? Do you start doing things? We want to give a little bit of everything to everyone, but also keep it fresh by getting so many different opinions and takes on things, because everyone's going to absorb the information differently, and they may take it from one person one way, from another person the other. So it's going to be cool with all different guests. And also, Doug, we're going to get some of the greats on. The Titans. Crowdfunding Comics presents Titans of Comics. And we're going to be getting guys on, Golden Age creators, Silver Age creators. We have guys lined up. I'm working with a few of them right now to get them set up so that we can get them on like this, because it's difficult for them. They don't know computers. They can't, we've got
those
family
guys
members.
We got to document that history on this show too before they croak, because they've got stories that go all the way back, man. They've got great stories.
Oh my gosh, and they're going, man. They are. Every month or something, you see someone is unfortunately passed, But they had good runs. I mean, these guys are in their 80s, 90s. I mean, we have to document. They're still telling their stories, And if it wasn't for them, none of us would be here.
Yep. Larry Martyr, who did Bean World, was one of the guys that I reached out to back in the late 80s when I first was considering doing my own indie comics. And I just pulled him aside, and I was reading a lot of Bean World. I loved that comic. And just he chatted me up at a Comic-Con for hours. Because I was such a fan of his work. He's like going, "You're weird, if you like my work, if you like Bean World." And we became Facebook friends. And before he died, I wished I'd logged a lot more time with that guy, because I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Larry's one of the first people that I had met. We had was it Mr. Bean, right? That's who he was, Mr. Bean from Bean World.
Yeah.
So served as the herald of the Cyblade She Battle for Independence book we had done in '95, and it was through Larry. Well, I met Larry through Jeff Smith and Vijaya, because it was all at San Diego. We had this little group of these bright-eyed, cartoonists, and we were all new. It was me, Terry Moore, Jeff Smith, Don Simpson was there, Bat and Lash, and Jack. Oh yeah,
we lost Bat and Lash this year too. What a bummer.
Yeah, we did, and it was terrible. But they had, the Exhibit A press. You remember seeing it?
Yeah, you get Jackie Estrada on the show.
Yeah, we'd love to have Jackie on.
She knows the stuff that she knows about Comic-Con and the history. And she actually wrote history books. So I'm just saying, she's got stories, and what a wonderful woman.
Oh yeah, what a great idea to get Jackie on. And then, what's so funny too, that is due to your, remember we did the San Diego, our crowdfunding comics panel at San Diego Comic-Con. We have one set up. We had one at Mitch's show at Terrific Con. We have one being set up for the Baltimore Comic-Con. Because that's a great idea. I'd love to have that, because there are these guests, and I'm going through the guest list. I'm like, wait a minute, he did a crowdfunding comic. She did one. Let's get them on the panel. Unfortunately, New York Comic-Con, we had just missed the deadline for that. And Mike Nick is like, what a great idea. That would have been a great thing for a panel. Next time, you got to let me know.
Get me in on San Diego early next year. Get me in. We got to get in.
Got it. You got it, buddy. And anyone who's there, like I said, if you crowdfunded a book, let me know. And you're going to be at San Diego, let me know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how big of a panel, how many people we can get on the panel. But that was a fun conversation. That was a great
crowd. Those were great people. Got to get a venue that isn't on the South 40 next time. That thing was in the boonies, man. It was
the farthest room in the whole convention center. So, but we have, and speaking of getting the greats on, I want to. Oh, my son left. Matthew. My son.
The thing we got to do next year, Billy, is have like crowdfunding drink night, where you just get everybody in crowdfundings into a bar, into some boony place, and just have fun. Because I did go out to dinner with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, and Mike Miller, and Brian Shearer, and there was a Pixel Trader. A bunch of us guys were out there, and it was a blast. So we gotta have some socializing some night.
We just gotta organize the crowdfunding Comic-Con. It's all focused on crowdfunding, and everyone just gets
that would be huge. That would be huge. That might be the next step, guys.
It might be.
I gotta tell you, Nile, Doug, is that if you remember, you guys were saying we're all gonna go out, and we had a party to go to.
Yeah.
We went to the party, and dude, it was a Thursday night, I think. It was at a club, It was so friggin' loud. Hey, come to our party. Like, oh, that'd be great. Let's go to the party. And I was like, and my wife and I are like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
We gotta get this.
I do that at every party too. My skin crawls and I run out of there.
25 doing when I first came out. I didn't want to go to a party that's loud and you can't talk to your friends at all. So maybe we'll pick a night. That's a great idea. Athens Market Taverna, the Greek place, they got a great little bar there. That could be the place for us all to come down there. The great family restaurant, great people, fun bar. And maybe we hit a place like that.
Yeah, or just sit outside of a liquor store. Just find a liquor store and we'll hang out on the sidewalk.
Brown bag it. We'll
just get cigars, get some booze, and sit on the sidewalk.
That's another thing is that we stay at the Marriott every year and out by the pool, by those fire pits.
Dude, that's where I go when I stayed at the Marriott. Back when I lived down there, I would stay at the Marriott, and that's what I would do. I'd go out on that back pool area.
Yeah.
Just order drinks, hang out with your friends. I love that pool area.
The outside bar closes around 10 o'clock now. So what we do is that we all hit Ralph's and we'll get some wine or get some beers, whoever gets wine, and we just sit out there, smoke cigar. Those fire pits run all night, and it's a great night. It's a great time. So, if nobody else will have us, we'll get all the crowd, all the Kickstarter people and all the IndieGoGo people, and we'll hit like the Marriott or something and just, hey, meet us by the pool.
That's what we want. Dude,
it'll be the evolution of the Scotch Con, Billy.
Yeah, well, just like crowdfunding, bring your own stuff, bring your own booze, bring your own cigars. We're all independent people. We're all,
pay for your own flight, pay for your own hotel. We'll just all meet somewhere.
Yep.
And Nile will do it. Nile will do John Lennon, and he'll talk as John Lennon the whole time.
John Lennon.
John Lennon will talk like that for a little while. Have a couple scotch or something.
Oh,
that's a great impersonation.
That's my favorite John Lennon imitation.
Did he just get shot while you were doing John Lennon?
Shot,
yeah.
Mr. Lennon. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, isn't that terrible? Dark. We're getting dark on the show.
Horrible.
I'm a terrible person.
But so seriously, but that's it. All right, Doug. We've had you on for almost 2 hours now. Nile was supposed to have this show for 45 minutes to an hour, and we keep keeping our guests on, which we don't mind, but we don't want to take advantage of our friendship.
He's delusional, folks. He's delusional.
Yeah. It's better to have me on more often than longer than 2.
Yes,
it'll all devolve.
Right.
I'll do all my favorite imitations of every celebrity who's died, like the David Carradine, the Robin Williams. I mean, all the Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do these?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just trying to be dark, so you'd kick me out.
Oh, well, Matthew, my son Matthew loves comics, and he's not here. He could do a great Robert Crumb impersonation.
Oh, no kidding. We got to get that a frumpy little felt hat on him and get those thick glasses on.
Yeah, but he's just like, it's not comics, comic books, and you just got to see his face and everything. It's so funny. He just does this stuff, and Debbie's like, "Who the hell is he doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." And
yeah. Watch the Crumb documentary. Greatest documentary ever made.
And he was just like, "Yeah, what's with these labels and all? Everyone's got." Anyway, so Doug, where can people find you, my friend?
They can find me on YouTube. Look up Doug TenNapel. I have a show, and I love getting more subs and eating up subs. We put on a show usually around 11 o'clock every day. And then also I'm on DLive, but DLive is trash. And then, of course, back my IndieGoGo book. Look up Earthworm Jim on IndieGoGo. I'm looking for more readers. It is going to be one killer, slaughterous book.
And I will. I haven't pledged yet, and I apologize.
So, you got to get in. We're going to be closing it down in a month.
Yeah, you know what it is though. I got to tell you what I do a lot, and I'm supposed to pledge for Peter's Alternaween. Is that every time I log on, I have to add my credit card? You can't put it on record.
It doesn't keep it?
I don't think so, because I'm like, oh, I gotta go downstairs and get my wallet now, or find my.
That happened to me before too. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I my card. Oh, that's all the way over there.
Get in on Earthworm Jim. You'll get free trading cards, at least 3 packs of trading cards. Little crafts to do. You're gonna get blown away. My goal is to blow people away with the packaging this time. I'm doing killer printed packaging. Little foam pads all around the books. Get the book and the making of is the top tier, or just the book and making of is what you need.
All right. I'm
Now,
on it.
when is this expected to ship again?
You'll get it by December.
By December. Oh,
Doug, we hope you will come on before December.
Yeah.
So
Anytime.
great.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime. I'll be your filler. If someone cancels, give me a call.
There you go. Well, tomorrow night I'm taking my son to see Slipknot. Oh no, you're not going to be here. I'm going to miss the Chris Cabana show because I got him tickets for Slipknot for his birthday, and I'm taking him, and I got to go buy earplugs.
dude, it's Slipknot. You don't need earplugs.
Slipknot.
I want that. Do that impersonation, bro.
No.
Oh.
We'll have Matthew on as Robert Crumb as one of our guests.
Yeah, we'll dress him up. Get the thick glasses, a frumpy hat.
I'd rather read comics.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't want to be on the show. Why am I on a show? What's a YouTube show?
Who is this Nile Scala? Is that just a river?
Is that Italian?
Is that Italian? So these
Is he a
Italian-
river from Egypt?
This is these Italians in comics and all. Like, have these? You guys got to check out the Robert Crumb, the most disturbing documentary ever.
It is. It is totally disturbing. Really, really twisted. But you'll learn a
is a
lot
re- this
about
is a real
the
thing,
early
huh?
days of the Haight-Ashbury comics. Those zines, man.
Yep, but it's
That was the start of indie comics.
Yep, it's really inspiring, and so is the what's his name, Harvey Picar.
Yeah, that's another good one. American Splendor.
American Splendor. No, Harvey passed away.
Nerds, you nerds.
What?
Because we're nerds.
Yeah, we're nerds.
Gosh.
That's right. I am a nerd.
I like when what's his face who plays Harvey Picar when he's
Giamatti.
yeah Giamatti's imitating him to his face. That doesn't sound like me. Oh, it is so good. That's a good movie, man. That's a good
really
one.
is.
American Splendor. If you guys haven't,
You guys got to watch these. Check them out. I'm sure they're on Netflix now and stuff like that, and Amazon Prime, probably for nothing. So, anyway, all right. Well, I think we should all bid our guests adieu.
Yeah. Well,
God bless
before
you
we
guys.
do
Thanks
that,
for having me on.
before we
man.
do that, I would like to do just we got a crowdfunding call out tonight.
All right, Paul.
So I'd love to get on that before we do out, and I also just want to, do a shout out for our guests for tomorrow night. So our crowdfunding call out tonight is for Ned, Lord of the Pit, a comedy of terrors. This comes from us, from Mr. Jim Calafiore, and we'll just take a quick second to play the video so you guys can check this out.
Hi, my name's Jim Calafiore. I'm the creator of Ned, Lord of the Pit, and this is the part of the video where I ask for your support. And I really do appreciate any support you give to the project. But let's talk about the important issue. Demons. Demons exist. I know it, and now Ned, the hero of our story, knows it. He's dealing with a lot. Heaven, hell, all of it. Parasite demons, stinky demons, couch potato demons, disconcertingly friendly demons, noisy demons, oversexed succubi, bickering angels, curious detectives, parental issues, one seriously annoying zombie roommate, and worst of all, a 7-year-old's birthday party. Ned never really believed in any of this heaven and hell stuff. Schmuck. He'll find out. He'll find out how deep it goes, about his legacy, about those who want to take his legacy away from him personally. You see, excuse me, I have to go back to work. Thanks for watching.
Are you on my page?
I love
Matthew.
that.
Matthew.
Are you on my page?
Get off
All
my
right.
page, Matthew.
Yeah, get off the page, Matthew. So, guys, yeah, check this out. This is awesome. Jim Calafiore is a great guy. We got to hang with him at Terrificon. It is a Kickstarter, so if you back Kickstarters, please check this out. Give it some consideration, and yeah, it's cool. Cool little book we got here.
You guys are animals. You guys are
Animals, I say animals. And then tomorrow night, we have our special guest, Mr. Chris Campana, for our 50th episode. I've gotten to know Chris. It's juice. I probably met him well over a year ago, got to know him, his work, his story, who he is. He is an awesome guy. He does incredible, incredible work. I'm so looking forward to having him on tomorrow night. So we hope you all join us. Will I let you in's the question. Calling from Slipknot. Let's freaking rock out. Corey Taylor, bro.
I'm like, what's a okay?
What's a Slipknot? You
I'll-
learned that
I'll
in Boy
go-
Scouts, dude.
I'll watch it and I'll become a Slipknot expert by 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
They're folk artists. It'll be great.
It's
Oh,
folk
like
music.
Mumford and Sons?
Yeah, they're like Mumford and Sons.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, they're like that.
Awesome.
Like Mumford and Son.
So they like the association?
Yeah, they're like Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Oh, so this is why we were late, guys, because I was watching YouTube and I was playing the association with the song "Cherish."
Cherish is a word I use to describe. Yeah.
Oh, what a great song!
Wonderful.
You don't know how many times I wish that I could hold you. Ooh. All right, enough.
What the hell is going on here?
What's going on?
Yeah.
I can do Paul. Who can you?
I could do Ringo.
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 And
I got a hole in me pocket.
And Paul talks like this. Can you do George? George is like this. He's like George.
George.
George like this.
George
Yes.
talks like this, yes.
I can do Paul. All right.
Let's do this for another hour. We're just going to keep saying I can do so and so.
Let's use every environment. Guys, do us a huge favor. I know how you post, but please subscribe if you can to our YouTube
Yeah,
show.
anyone's new to the show, please subscribe, share. It's been a blast. I'm glad you all had so much fun. And yeah, man, it's going to be great. And we got Crystal McGee on Thursday. And then Friday, I don't know, Billy. I mean, maybe we'll bring some previous guests on. Jeez, it's so many different things we could do Friday night.
Friday,
You know,
we're
just
going to have our
recapping 50
50th
episodes.
50 episode celebration. We'll have some wine or some bubbly, some scotch. Let's do this and have a little party. We'll go live and we'll rock and roll with this. We'll have a good time.
Yeah.
And please join us. That'll be Friday, maybe 8 o'clock instead of 9, Nile.
Yeah, we'll probably do something a little earlier, you know.
Yeah, we'll let
No one
you guys.
stays up late on a Friday.
Yeah, they're too
Right.
busy reading comics.
Let's get
Yeah, we're
wasted.
53.
All right. So anyway, so thank you so much.
You can be my
Doug,
dad.
And thank you, Mandy. That was you popping up. I got to really start reading these gosh darn things. I got to find out what this timeout is. I see Blevins did a timeout for someone. I got to find out what that is.
Hope it's good.
They're fighting. All right, no fighting. I just see someone bouncing or.
Billy's son says no fighting, everyone.
Let me know what Nile, let's talk. You got to let me know what a hell scotch
Yeah, we'll
is.
chat after.
WC Hell Scotch. Anyway, you gotta let me know what this timeout thing is. They literally put somebody on a timeout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you pause them from your chat if
For
they're bad. You
300
put them in a
seconds.
Shut up! Really?
Yeah, I know. These are grown men. Grown men.
Right. Whatever. All right, guys.
All right, everyone, have a great night. We will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock, again with our special guest, Mr. Chris Campana. Doug,
Doug, thank you.
thank you, my
Oh,
friend.
God bless you all.
Hey,
Yes.
thank you, guys. Doug, hang on. We'll say goodbye to you after we shut down. All right, don't leave yet. Yes,
Yes.
thank you all. God bless you. God bless America. Thank
And
you.
everyone
Bill.
enjoy a breakfast burrito tomorrow.
There you go. Oh, hats.
And over microwave it so it gets like weird and chewy.
That's right.
Weird and
Oh, yeah,
chewy
look at that.
burritos.
Billy, that's not a hat in case someone didn't tell. In case you wear your hat to church, don't wear your
have
hat
anything.
to church.
I don't have anything.
Can you see my face?
Ooh, I see a skull.
You see a school? All right.
All right. Say goodnight, Billy.
Good night, guys. Good night, Doug. Thank you again for coming on the show. You're fantastic. As always, all the great success with Earthworm Jim. Please, guys, check out the campaign or share it if you can. He's at He's over $770,000.
Let's see if you got it before we go. Let's see if we. Oh yeah, you did. I think we gained. Our show got you 2 more backers.
Dude, that's all I want, man. That's great. I love those 2 backers. Thanks for coming in. And Billy still has to come in.
Yeah, I'm coming in. I'll come in. If I don't come in tonight, I'll do it tomorrow morning. I don't want to go downstairs and get my wallet and stuff, but I'll do it tomorrow. I promise, Doug. I promise.
Take your time.
And I want it because I want that book.
I'm just sitting here
I want
hanging.
that book too. I need to do it. I was actually playing Earthworm Jim the other night, not even with coincidence with you being on the show. I was like, I'm just gonna play some Earthworm Jim.
It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game.
Oh, you want to? All right. So.
All right. Sorry, I keep rambling on different things. We said goodbye like 20,000 times.
Boy, Bouncing, Mob Seat, Mandy, of course, Felix, WC guys, James Hayes, Red Gaze, Billy Tucci, that's Matthew.
And to Mandy Summers, what? Great job moderating tonight.
Brian, thanks all you guys. You guys rock and roll. Let's take us out, Nile.
All right, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night. Chris Campana is going to be on. And, maybe I'll have a special guest host with me. So, again, everyone, have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell. You may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram, Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.